Hello there, this is News Review. My name is Lamin Jai. Coming up, Killer Ace's prison wars continue as court denies him and dozen orders bail after transferring their court, that's the Kanifing Magistrates Court there. We have a report on that case there. And I will be talking to Keksane and Coach Pasamba Joe about this development, the Killer Ace and court development there. First, what we will do, I'll take a look at the papers. I have the Standard as well as the Point, so we will look at what the papers are saying today. The Standard lead story is saying State House driver explains encounter with police. Also, the Standard is saying Gambia to conduct 2019 migration survey. That's GBOS, Gambia Bureau of Statistics. Also, Gomsa Bopa demand killer orders release. We will look at what these stories are saying further. The lead story is saying Mansa Sumari, a State House driver who used to drive President Adama Barrow and was recently questioned by police over the raging diplomatic passport scandal, has told the Standard that even though he was taken in by police, he has not been found to have done anything wrong. The police called me in and said they have arrested one person at the Foreign Affairs while another is on the run. They also told me they have set up a panel to investigate passport scandal at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The police informed me that a particular passport was seized by the immigration and taken to the Foreign Affairs, where it was later realized that it was issued to the holder by one Ibrahim Hassani and others who have run away, Mansa told the Standard. Also, the Standard is reporting that Gomsa Bopa demand killer orders release. Gomsa Bopa, a civil society organization, yesterday held a press conference denouncing the arrest and detention of 37 youth at the Mile 2 prisons. The 37 are charged in connection with the July protest in Serekunda over the death of a Sierra Leonean national, Usman Dabo. Also, Standard is reporting court permits Jame to be served papers through diplomatic channels. Presiding Judge Senabu Wadasisi of the High Court has set 3rd October 2019 for the 3 Gambians who filed civil suit against ex-President Yahya Jammeh on the HIV and AIDS case to report as to whether the former president had been served with the court processes. Also, the Standard is saying police reveal names in diplomatic passport saga. That's a press release by the police. On the 23rd August 2019, Inspector General of Police opened an investigation into a case of diplomatic passport fraud involving 3 protocol officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, namely Sekou Sane, Ibrahim J. Sane, and Usman Toure, currently at large. That will be all for the Standard. So the Point is saying, also reporting on the diplomatic passport saga or fraud there, fresh arrest over diplomatic passport fraud. That's their lead story. Israel Embassy pays tribute to former President Jawara. Police have moral obligation to uphold human rights standards. Also, Gambia's Vice President, that's VP, meets Japanese Prime Minister Abe. Chief Justice is saying that Africa lost its human rights champion. So the Point is saying police have confirmed the arrest of more individuals in connection with the diplomatic passport fraud. Israel Embassy pays tribute to former President Jawara. The ambassador of Israel to Senegal overseeing the Gambia, Royal Lozenblit, and his entire staff have paid tribute to Gambia's former statesman, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. In a missive, Ambassador Rio quoted Jawara in Jerusalem in October 1966 after signing a treaty of friendship between the Gambia and Israel with Prime Minister Levi Eshkol, that the idea of settling conflict between peoples by peaceful means applies to all countries in the Middle East, as in the Vietnam. Also, this is also another press release. Gambia's VP meets Japanese Prime Minister Abe on 31st August 2019. The Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Dr. Aissatou Toure, accompanied by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, Dr. Mamadou Tangara, paid a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, at his office in Tokyo. So that will be all for the papers. We will bring you that Killer Ace story there. Killer Ace's Mile 2 was continued on Tuesday after the Kanifing Magistrates Court denied him bail. Ace was denied bail alongside 36 other youths. The accused persons, including 3 Senegalese, 2 Guineans, and 3 Sierra Leoneans, are charged with various offenses including arson, causing panic to other members of the public, unlawful and riotous assembly, and disruption of traffic and damage to property. The charges are linked to the July 24 demonstrations in which youth descended onto the streets to protest the death of Usman Dabo, a 33-year-old vendor, a market vendor who they say died as a result of torture meted out to him, allegedly, by police. The Faro Network team was at the court today. That's the Kanifing Magistrates Court. More in this report prepared by Justice Dabo, that's Maudou Dabo. Solidarity for the 37 Gambian youths and other West African nationals as they were being returned to the state central prisons in Banjul after the Kanifing Magistrates Court Tuesday morning ruled that some of the charges against them transcend the jurisdiction of the lower court.
337! 337! 337! 337! 337!
A moderately large crowd turned out at the court and its periphery as ruling was being handed down on some of the preliminary objections raised by the lawyers for the accused during the last sitting. The defense had last week objected to the inclusion of the counts of arson and other related offenses on the charge sheet, punishable by life imprisonment, and sought for the court to strike them out. It argued that the counts of arson and other offenses were all included on the charge sheet so as to cause a lengthy detention of the accused persons. The defense team was of the conviction that it was an abuse of process to charge the men with arson and that the charges were brought in bad faith because the police wanted a lengthy detention of the youths. Earlier, the prosecution made an application to the court not to entertain the matter as arson and related offenses are beyond the jurisdiction of a magistrate's court. The prosecution applied for the accused persons to be remanded in custody pending the transfer and mention of the case to the High Court. And on the resumption of the case on Tuesday, the court ruled that since arson and other charges preferred against the suspects are beyond the jurisdiction of the magistrate's court, the case be consequently transferred to the High Court as the competent court of jurisdiction. Meanwhile, the crowd that gathered at the court premises reacted with anger as soon as the suspects were being escorted from the court precincts into waiting police vans for transportation to Mile 2.
I'm not going to stand and defend anybody who goes and does arson, but even whereas the person is going through a court process, even if he is guilty, he's a human being. You need to treat him with utmost respect and care. But you cannot be slapping and kicking people just because they are inmates. So for me, that is wrong.
In the past in the Gambia, we accuse the courts of being biased, of being mercenary judges in this country. So let everybody come. We are going to stay here. We are going to stay here. And we are going to protest. Nobody is going to jail again for stupid charges that this failed government trying to set examples of our people. Understand? They are trying to set examples of our people. We must refuse this. Yunsun Gai, they are not people you set examples with. We have abided by every stupid law in this country, only to be treated like pieces of shit. They treat us like we are criminals. We work in this country, we pay taxes in this country, and even if we don't work, we are citizens of this country, and we are human beings, and we must be respected. And that same respect that we want for ourselves, we must want for our brothers who are going to Mile 2 back today.
The 36 youth man. You tell them you will Mile 2. Understand nga? Tell them musuta am Gambia, more am tay more am. Depuis last week depuis week before last mungi am betay mungi am. Why na president bi gene ñu ko ñaan ngir Yalla ak yonenté bi. So gisee mu tok ci togu bi Yalla ak ñun ñoko votal mu tok ci togu bi. Understand nga? Ñun ñoko togal ci togu bi na gene mu wax ñun youth man yi ñu xam suñ place. Ñu xam suñ place, sécurité xam seen place, ku nekk nga xam sa place. Understand nga? So waaye lii nu moo demee nii neewut ci xol koo gis ku nekk Mile 2 booy ku nekk am na ñaari doom am na ñetti doom c'est léegi seen famille kan moo leen a dundal kan moo leen a dundal léegi lan la gaay buga lan la Gambia buga we vote for change. We vote for change. Still now, the change is not done.
But as the High Court's vacation will run up to October, making somehow real the prospect of the accused being detained at the state central prison for a relatively long period of time. What is the defense team doing to ensure the accused gain their liberty until such time that the case is mentioned in the High Court?
I mean, we had a remand order from the magistrates' court. So far, we are also going to look for ways to make sure that we get the ruling of the magistrate and see how best we can challenge the ruling. But apart from that, we know that there is vacation at the High Court. But as I say, that will not help. The sooner, the better. I mean, review the situation, review the circumstances. Like I just say, what will help? I mean, we want the situation to be resolved. Yes, we can take our action, looking at what we are supposed to do as lawyers. But again, on the other hand, is that if you want to keep these people for 1 or 2 months in remand, you are affecting a whole community. Some of them, they have families, they have, wives. Don't say them like that. Some of them are not like the youths that people thought about, that these are youths that make noise. No. I can tell you that some of them, at the latter part, we come to know what their status are. They may be at the, community around the markets or so, trying to, find, daily living. But we have to be technical. Let's study the situation. And prosecution engage with defense. We will also try to do an engagement policy. We don't want confrontation in the sense that, that will agitate the whole society. Our things are fragile. I mean, let's take an easy look at things. I mean, we will also make sure we will communicate to the public. I mean, definitely, this is what the situation is. It's not somehow warranted to keep them for a long time. It's not going to help.
It would be recalled that 37 youths were arrested sometime in July and charged with 8 counts, including unlawful assembly riots, causing panic to the general public, setting fire on Bakote police station, disruption of traffic, and destroying a West Coast Region's court services motor vehicle. The incident, according to court records, occurred on 24 July 2019. There were sources of solidarity for the 37. The killer is court appearance there. Killer is and 36 others are trapped in a court case following the July 24 protest there. So now I am joined by Kek Sane. Kek is a journalist and someone who is also, I think, part of the group of youth who are advocating for the release of Killer Ace and others who have been arrested in this. I'll also be talking to Coach Pasamba Jau. Let me start with you, Keks. What do you make of today at the court?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fatu Network and the entire team, Lamin, for having me once again on your platform. I'm grateful. Actually, today we went to the court, expecting that we will have a bail in regards to the case that is before the Carnegie magistrate case regarding Killer Ace and the 37 people who are before a trial. But it was rather unfortunately the last adjournment they were having an application that was made by the defense team in regards to the whole issue that this is a court that doesn't have the jurisdiction to hear this case. So the application was today, the magistrate ruled on the application that was made by the defense team, and she acknowledged that definitely this is a case that is above the Carnegie Magistrate Court, and the only thing that they can do is to transfer the matter to the High Court. And presently, as we know, the High Court is on a vacation. They stopped since July and they are resuming first week of October. But this is the situation, so she ruled on that they should still be remained at mile 2 until further days when the matter will be here at the High Court, and maybe the High Court might give them a bail and follow the procedures of the court. So this is the situation that happens today, and this is what happens today.
But then from the pictures, there are a lot of people, young people who turn up at the court were angry, were very angry as soon as the case was transferred. This ruling came that the case, the court was not empowered to try the case, transferring the case and then denying this youth bail. Does it make sense at all for you?
Yeah, actually, first I will come to why the boys were acting what you see in the footage of the video that was played here. Actually, the boys were very calm when the ruling was done, because we have very competent lawyers and very high-profile lawyers who are involved in this case, the like of Antumana Gay and the likes of lawyer Lamin Escamara, and you have the lawyer Martins, and so many, you have Sirif Kumba Job, who are very high-profile lawyers here. That shows you the magnitude, how serious the case case is. And we were convinced definitely with the support of these people, justice will be prevailed, and we want to follow the due process of the law. But the manner and the way, you know, those accused people were handled after the case, you know, they were being kicked to be forced to go into the pickup truck that will pick them to take them to
why would they do that? The police kicked them. Were they resisting to?
Actually, what we saw is immediately they left the veranda. We just see them. They are kicking and pushing them, you know, forcing them to go into the truck when their hands are handcuffed. And I feel like this is very inhuman, and we can, because we see it as a provocation against us, because we can be standing, coming in solidarity with our fellow youths, and you see them treating them like they are not human beings. This is just a bag of rice that you are throwing in a car. So we feel this is wrong, and we reacted towards their behavior towards an accused person, and we tell them very clear that these people are accused person, unless they are proven by a court of law. You treat them as an accused person that they have not done anything. So this is the situation. But if you look at the whole incident, why we are even into this whole issue is that, you know, we don't want for the police officers or any court to punish people who have not committed a crime. And I can tell you that the people who are accused of causing an arson by burning the police station and that of Gorgin Boop's house, I was present at the very day when this demonstration was happening. They are punishing the wrong people or accusing the wrong people of something that they didn't commit. And it's the obligation, because why they are doing this? Because when they were burning the back of the police station, all the cameramen, the Fatu networks, the Kerifatus, all the mediums were at anti-crime units. So there was no media that was at the police station, neither at Gorgin Boop house to cover. So, and they have no other source where they can identify who are the people who burned these houses. So they rely on the video footage that were taken, and all the video footage were taken at the anti-crime unit. And at the anti-crime, there was no arson in anti-crime unit. So that automatically tells you that these people who they charge are not the people who caused the arson. But they rely on the video footage that was taken at the anti-crime, you know, since they saw Lamin in the video and they arrest Lamin. But this prompted me that if you say that those who are there, you arrest them, why you don't arrest Khalifa Sallah? Because Khalifa Sallah was there. Why don't you arrest Khalifa Sallah? Because he was there. Because, you know, why don't you arrest the Yankuba Sonko before IGP? He was there. So you cannot just take a video and say that because I saw this in the video and I must arrest the person and take him to court. That's not how you do your investigation. You do your investigation thoroughly to know that this is the person who take a fire or do something and burn this, and you charge him for arson. And this has not, and they cannot show us any evident video that I have recognized Lamin or Killer is born in Gorgin Boop's house. So that's injustice, and we don't want to encourage that. This is why we are standing that what they are charged, unless they drop the charges of arson against these people and charge them for lawful assembly, we can accept that. But you cannot charge them that they have caused arson when actually you cannot show us a video footage that shows that these people were at Gorgin Boop's house or at back of the police station, born in the police station, neither the compound. There is no evidence. They can't prove it. So automatically they are just doing, maybe they have a grievance against these people and they want to just punish them. And law doesn't go like that. You can't just say that, you know, this is what happened and I will just do whatever I feel like doing just to show that I'll set an example. You don't set an example on people if they don't commit a crime.
So at this juncture, I would want to bring in Coach Pasamba Jau. Good afternoon, Coach. Coach, good afternoon. Can you hear me, Coach? Can you hear me, Coach? I'm finding it difficult to get you, Coach. I think you can hear me, but I'm not sure. I cannot hear you at all. So, okay, meanwhile, we will continue the discussion there. This whole issue, it's complex. It is a very complicated issue. This issue of hundreds of youth taken to the streets protesting, claiming that someone had died after being tortured by the police. And the police identifying just about 40 people. When you have hundreds of people who all participated in this issue. So, and you are saying that these people that they've arrested have not. Well, then let me get to Coach. I think Coach is there. Coach, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me, Lamin?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, sir. So,
right.
Coach, today's developments there at the Carnival Magistrate Court, what would be your take
Well, I was disgusted watching what was happening. In fact, I was traveling and was at an airport and was watching what was going on. And it is fair to say very clearly that Jammeh's relics are still in play in that country. It's the same old tactics that are being played, and the animalistic nature in which our security forces treat citizens was in full display again today, when handcuffed young men were being kicked and thrown unjustifiably in trucks, not because they were resisting anything, but these were people that just felt that they are in uniform and must act this way. So I was utterly disgusted by what I saw today, Lamin.
Let's talk about the case itself. The protest led to some crimes being allegedly committed. And you have 40 or 37 youth who have been arrested. But a lot of people, what they are saying or claiming is that these people are being wrongly prosecuted. These are not the people, in fact, who committed the crimes that the police are preferring against them. What do you make of that? Do you think these are not the people that the police should have arrested and charged?
Well, I'm not the one to say who is to be arrested and who is not to be arrested. But one thing that is in full display here is the selective justice that is happening. And this tantamounts to persecution and not prosecution. And in a democratic setting, one would expect a government to prosecute and not persecute. Because what we saw on that day when the young men were out in the streets, they were in their thousands, all over. Somewhere in Serakuda, somewhere around the anti-crime unit, somewhere in Ibo Town, where Gorgimbub's house was. So how do you just pick 37 people out of those and prosecute them for unlawful assembly or whatever they were saying, when there were over thousands of people who assembled there? What I feel is happening here, Lamin, is that there is a deliberate act to go after Killer Ace. Of course, they could not do it in isolation. So the others were just acted in it as a cover. And I think this is...
Hello, I think we lost...
Hello,
yes.
You get me?
Sorry about that. Yes, you can continue, please.
Yeah. So it is sad that our government today has people who not long ago were advocates against such things. Today they have become the spinners of such horrendous and justifiable actions against our citizens. So it is sad.
Coach, you are saying Killer Ace is targeted. But there are a lot of people out there too who say or who claim Killer Ace is a troublemaker. Here is someone who would go about disrespecting the police in the due execution of their functions or their duties, if you like. What do you make of that? What do you say to that?
I think that's utter nonsense. How do you disrespect the police? The police are there to enforce the law. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to be using heavy-handed tactics against citizens. We saw what happened to Ace when he was first arrested. Of course, he was visibly, you could see that he was tortured. They beat him up. That happened. And what happened to all the issues that were raised on that day? Because you watch the videos. Hundreds of young people came out. And there was pretty much a very consistent message that was being sent. And that was the abusive nature of the anti-crime unit. So to call Killer Ace a troublemaker, of course, so troublemaker, does that mean that you used to be persecuted? Because you have a voice, that you can speak your mind? The last time I checked, Killer Ace has the fundamental human and constitutional rights to freedom of speech, to say what he feels, and that is not something that would injure the reputation of anybody. And he did not injure anybody's reputation. What he is saying is what a citizen should do. If you see a police force that is acting outside of the gambits of the law, you have all rights as a citizens to call it out. And that's what he's doing. So this is what I'm saying, that you have people, in fact, within Jammeh's Barrow's circle, who are targeting people who have now identified people as enemies, because they have a view that is contrary to that of the government. What we have here is a government that is full of hypocrites. a government that speaks from both sides of the mouth. One time they would talk about democracy and human rights. The next time they would be the very people spinning the violation of rights of people. So to me, I don't listen to those people because they have no other thing to sell the Gambian people. Because it's not only enough to say, oh, Lamin is a troublemaker for Lamin to be prosecuted. The last time I checked, there was no law that prosecutes people for troublemaking, especially based on the fact that somebody would say something. So because of that,
Coach,
they would have to rely on this foolishness that, you know, he's a troublemaker. So what? We are all troublemakers.
So you hang in there, Coach. I will come back to Kex now. Kex, but what we also know is that yesterday there was a press conference by Gomsa Bopa, Team Gomsa Bopa, a civil society organization, and we understand moves are being made as a way of ensuring, putting pressure on the government to, you know, drop charges, withdraw charges against Killer Ace and co. Do you know anything about this?
Actually, that was yesterday. You know, we made a demand. You know, we write to the National Assembly Committee on Youth and that of the security. You know, for them to look at the whole matter, what is before the court, and we are open to dialogue. You know, to see that none of us is here to support, you know, anything that is unlawful in this country. This country belongs to each and every Gambian, and these people are very responsible citizens. You could have even read the line when these people were bailed the day they were arrested. They were bailed. There is no single person who jumped a single bail. They will go to the bail on time and they will accept whatever is being charged or whatever is been. They will be sitting there for 3-4 hours waiting the decision of the police, and in an outcome they will just leave them to go. That shows you how responsible they are. The day the matter was mentioned at the court, they called them and they said, you have to report to Talendim police station. They report up to Talendim police station and they take their records that, you know, this person has came and report. From there they said, no, now you have to come to Kairaba police station. They drive their own car. They could have said, no, you told us Talende, we come to Talende, we are going. But that shows you how responsible and how law-abiding they are. You know, they come to Kairaba police station. At Kairaba police station, that was the time they said, now they arrest each and everybody. They said, let's go to the court. And they went to the court, you know, accepting any condition attached to them. And they listen and they charge them, they send them to Mile 2 with a disciplined manner. So for us, we are open dialogue. That's why we want to inject the stakeholders. We said, and we are convinced that the people that they are charging for arson, other lawful assemblies has happened. But why don't you charge the people at Brikama who occupy the BBC? That is a lawful assembly. Why the selective justice? If those people could go out and occupy the Brikama area council, but you leave those people free, but you say these people you are charging them for lawful assembly, then where is the justice here? Because rule for one is rule for all. So we feel like there's a target. They have a motive behind the whole process.
But then, well, I mean, do you think the government will listen to you then? You are saying that you're open to dialogue, talking to the government as a way of finding a way out of this.
Yeah.
Do you think the government will listen to you?
It's left to them, because government must understand that the cream of the nation is the youths. They can't do anything without us. And if they allow the youths to go up to an extent that they have no other option but just to rise up against the government, that's not good for the government. And the better they realize that the citizens are the criminal, and we determine whoever will manage the affairs of this country, the better for them. So it's left to them, you know, to plan for their future and listen to us. Let us have a dialogue. We know that this has happened, but there's a way out. We are responsible people. We will talk to our boys. If this happens, this is the way we will take. And we will use all the mediums of communication in a very professional manner by the rule of law. Until that is exhausted, then we can use the other means that are available, and we will advise them that let us desist from this. But you cannot just take this and say, let me set and sample to the people, when actually what you are charging them, they didn't even commit that crime. This is my problem, and this is why we feel like there is injustice there, and that's why we are standing, because we don't want to encourage. We fought for it and we don't want to entertain it anymore. But we made it very clear to them, we are open for dialogue. If they want, let us have a dialogue. We talk about this issue as a concerned citizen. We are all ready to see this government succeed, because that is what we fought for, and we didn't fight to see this government backward. Unless they recognize that we are responsible city, any of those people are responsible. At least they have 2 or 3 children. So if issues happens, you don't only look at the problem, but you look at what is the effect. What was the effect and the effect of the problem? What led to this problem? But they are not even investigating this. Boys don't just get up and go and do a demonstration or a riot. Something happens that triggers this, but they are not interested in that.
So I'll bring Coach in there now. Coach, so in a situation such as this one, a situation where you have hundreds of youth, protesting, and then crime gets committed, what is the way out then for the police? It puts the police on the in a quandary, if you like, because you have hundreds and you cannot go about arresting hundreds of people at a go. So how do you go about that in a situation such as this one?
Well, I mean, you know, justice must not only be done, but seem to be done. Let's look at, like Just Keck said, there was a reason why these young men came out in the streets. It was not an organized thing, it was spontaneous, because somebody was allegedly killed by the notorious anti-crime unit. Of course, that person's body was just buried, what, few days ago?
Friday.
The government has still not told us anything concrete about the findings of that investigation.
Yes.
And the reason why most of these people also came out, in addition to that, what had happened, was we've had them talk about how Gorgui Mbub and his men would beat up people, break people's fingers, torture people. In fact, Gorgui Mbub runs extrajudicial persecution of Gambians, because when Gambians are arrested, especially young Gambians, here he has them and force them to do farming for him. You know, we live in a democratic society where it is only the courts who can, punish people for crimes that they've committed. The police can only investigate and advise for prosecution. They do not have the right to be the judge, jury, and executioner. And that's what we have in the anti-crime unit. So now, the question you ask is fundamental. Are they in a quandary? Maybe they are. But I think the situation here is, Lamin, unless we have a serious judicial reform in that country, and unless we also have policies that would arrest the hopelessness of our young people, such issues will continue to happen. When issues happen like this, where people get angry and destroy properties, what serious governments would do would be to look into the root cause of that problem and find a way of solving the problem. But by just selectively prosecuting or persecuting few people is not going to serve as a deterrent to the reoccurrence of such a thing. I do not condone anybody going to burn anybody's property or destroying any properties. I have protested my whole life, and never had I ever done anything. Even when we occupied the Gambian embassy here in DC, yes, we made it a duty to make sure that not a single pen was going to be moved out of place. Because what we wanted was not our message to be overshadowed by side issues. Now, in every situation that happens, any protest, you would have rabble-rousers, you will have troublemakers who would come and overshadow and do actions that may take away from the very message that was happening. But here is where Adama Barrow should act very wisely. And that is to say, okay, a house was burnt, terrible. A police station was attacked, terrible. But there are also other crimes that have been alleged by these people who felt so angry, some of whom, you know, to do what they did. Are we all going to also look at the root cause? But when you talk to this government, what they will tell you is we are working on security reforms. But how do you have security reforms when people who've been accused of committing very heinous crimes, documented accusations by institutions that were established by the government, such as the 2000 April 10th 11 Commission that talked about Gorgui Mbub, singled him out for opening fire in a school, beating up somebody like Usman Sabali. But you have that guy now leading an institution as sensitive and important as the anti-crime unit, and all the accusations that are coming in play about what he does to these people. So to me, you cannot equate. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Sorry, I was here. You cannot equate burnt property with the death of an individual. I'm not trying to downplay the burning of his house. I disagree with that. But I also believe it is absolutely important that this government must do whatever it takes to go to the root cause of the problem, and persecuting Killer East and 36 others is not going to be the solution to this problem.
So let me ask you one final question then. Should the government budge, the police budge and withdraw charges, Attorney General, whoever it is that might come and say, might have the authority to withdraw charges, to drop this case against these individuals, Where would you put the issue of impunity then?
Well, you know, impunity already is been practiced from the government side. Is it not interesting that the guns that were discovered at the Ports Authority, nothing came out of it? What about the drugs that were just intercepted at the ports? Nothing came out of it. So you have a culture of impunity and selective justice where the government would not go after the big criminals who commit serious crimes, but would go after young people who came out to express their frustration due likely to the inactions of this government. So you cannot just select few people and say, oh, we are just going to prosecute them to teach them a lesson. Government does not teach lessons. Government set in institutions that would address issues that would prevent something that had, like what happened in June. So I don't believe it has anything to do with impunity, especially dealing with these young people. Because if there is impunity, it's what Adam Barrow and his government practices, especially when it affects people that are big donors to his ambitions of staying in power.
Coach Pasama Jau, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Kex, I just want us to quickly wrap up this discussion then. So, here we are. At least these boys will spend the next 1 month in prison. When you saw them today, how are, we know that Mile 2 is not the best. How are they? Did they say anything troubling that you might have heard?
No, today it was very difficult. You don't even have the access to even get closer to the accused people. You know, they were tight security was mounted against these people. Even in the courtroom, normally when you accompany this accused person, you stood at the door and wait the court to do. But they were inside the courthouse itself, you know, trying to protect between the media and that of the accused person. You could see even the footsteps where normally we walk, you know, they were all full of security officers trying to protect, like, you know, these are serious criminals. So we didn't get the opportunity to even talk to them to know what was their condition. I could see some, even their wife bring some clothes for them, you know, so that they can change the other clothes, but they could not have the access to get closer to their family, even to even change their clothes or give them the other clothes. So this was the scenario. We didn't get, you know, to have an access to know how the condition at Mile 2 was. But if you are somebody who have visited Mile 2, you'll definitely know that Mile 2 is not the best place for these youths to be. And I made this very emphasized that since the court decided that, you know, this is a case that is not in the jurisdiction of the lower court, why could they tell them that now you can continue with your police bail, or they can be detained at police and wait until the high court decide anything whether they will be remain at Mile 2 rather than just sending them to Mile 2, knowing fully well that these people are on a vacation, keeping them there for 1 month, 2 months when they are still accused people. So all those things, I feel like it is strong. You could have, just because you know, sometimes you don't only look at the law, but you look at the implication there. These people are reliable people. At least each and every one is a family is reliable on them, 2 or 3 or 4, because I see, you know, after the verdict was announced, you could see women were crying, weeping on the ground, you know.
So when they had that, some of them, when they had that, their husbands
are gone, and the court is and the court is not sitting until October, you know. You see them crying, falling on the floor, crying. So all those things, you look at all those things, what implication will it, you know, state, you don't just run the state based on law. Sometimes, you know, you have to be, that's why you call it, you flexible laws. You have to be flexible and look at things. And this is accused people. You could have told them, continue with your police bail until the high court resume, and whatever they decide you are going to Mile 2, then you can be, since it is something that is above your jurisdiction. But this is not what happened. So these are some of the problems that we have in the whole situation, and we want to remedy that. That's why let's open a dialogue and see and talk. But the lawyers has promised us that they will push the matter, you know, for them to see it as an emergency matter and discuss it. So maybe they will not be at Mile 2 up to 1 month. They might sit maybe next week or even this week before the end of the week, if the high court wishes that they want to hear the case. That can be the possibility.
Yeah, that's clearly possible.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you one final question though. The issue of sensitization, because a lot of people are seeing, for example, capital offense, life imprisonment, damage to willful damage to property, capital offense, and there are a lot of people out there who claim or who think or who believe that these people in fact have been sent to prison for life. I heard such comments outside. So what is Team Gomsa Bofa, for example, doing as a way of telling people, hey, you know what, That's not the case. There is a case that is just, in fact, just starting. The case has not even gone anywhere yet. So did you try to find a way of, you know, assuaging people's concern in that regard?
Yeah, like I was telling you, when the news was said, you know, information reached their families that these people are going and the court is on vacation, they are not resuming up to October. You could see the families, then that means I will not see my family for October. So we try to sensitize them to make them understand that even tomorrow the court can hear the case. That doesn't mean that if the courts go on break, there is no magistrate. They are a vacational magistrate that will sit when there is. You will have somebody who will step in while the other courts, the other magistrate will go for holidays. So they might come and sit over the case tomorrow, and they might, you know, be in favor of them or against them. So nobody knows. So it's not that when they say the court is on holiday, there will be no sitting. So there might be a sitting. So we try to sensitize them and even go, you know, further to sensitize the people to understand that this is just the process of the whole thing. It doesn't mean that still now they are convicts. Still now they can go and they can win the case, or they might not win the case. But we are sure definitely there is no case before this court, because we are witness to the whole scenario. If they are, I will never come here and support anybody, you know, for asking, because we have to be responsible citizens. I will never. But I'm 100% so that the people that are before this court are not the people who burn these houses. So this is my position, and I want people to understand, and more especially people on Facebook. There are too much of hypocrites going on our social media, and Gambian people should be honest to themselves. You know, Gambia is the only country when you are fighting for a cause. If it favors you, people will call you heroes. Yeah, he's Mr. This, he's Mr. That. But the moment you are fighting for a cause, that doesn't affect them. They don't care. They call you names, criminals. How can you call somebody a criminal who has never had a criminal record in this country? You know, they don't even understand the word criminal. You can only call somebody a criminal when he is convicted of a criminal offense. None of these people are convicted of criminal offense. But you see so-called intellectuals on Facebook calling Killer Ace criminal when Killer Ace has never had any criminal record in his life career. That's hypocrisy.
So but that's clearly unfair.
That's clearly unfair. And this Killer Ace is the very person, when Jammeh was here in the 22 years, he made a song. And he said that Nancy Melby and other things, he was fighting against the dictator.
And a lot of people
they were the very people who were calling him Mr. Hero, everything. And he have to abandon his family, everything, and leave this country, being in exile. Do you know how painful he is? Student for now we have the freedom. He came and fighting for the same system that he was fighting yesterday. But today you call him criminal. That is the hypocrisy in this country. And unless we stop that, we will never have the new Gambia. Gambians are very hypocrite. And they should stop that. Calling these people criminal, that shows you how ignorant you are, how stupid you are as a person, and people have to know the word, how to use it, what is the meaning of the word. It is very important, and I'm sending a message to them. These people are accused people, and none of them has a criminal record. Calling them criminal shows how stupid you are.
Kek Sane, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's Kek Sane there. We were talking about the Killer Ace and co and 36 other youth who have been arrested and charged over the July 24 mass protest that erupted in parts of Serekunda there. So now we'll bring you another story there. Fresh concern has been raised following the announcement recently that there would be a deportation of thousands of Gambians who are living in Germany. But I'm not sure that report is ready. So with that then, we will come to the end of today's show. We thank you very much for being there. I will see you tomorrow. My name is Lamin Jai. No, so